What if you could go back in time and you knew more before you made those big decisions in life? What would you do differently? What advice would have helped you then and now? Welcome to Know Before You Owe podcast. I am Jim Black, and I've been lucky to have gone from being a market maker on Wall Street, helping big decisions be made with key executives at companies, to now being a trusted advisor for large financial real estate transactions for families. In my career, I've met some of the most incredible people along the way, and we're lucky to have them share their experiences with us on this podcast. These are top experts in their fields, great leaders in work and in life. Guests will share their life experiences, wisdom, and insights that you can leverage in your own decisions in life. Thank you, and please stay tuned for our upcoming episodes, and I'm excited to help you know more before you owe. Please subscribe to learn more, and we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Hi, it's Jim Black with another edition of Know Before You Owe, our podcast, and today I'm lucky to have one of my favorite guests on our podcast. Please meet Jason Walter. Jason, thanks for being on our show today and our podcast. And I have known you for a little bit of time, I think, tiny bit. When did we meet?
I think it was middle school, Jim. So, a few years ago.
Yeah, just like yesterday. Yeah, so I've only known you for a little bit of time. We won't date ourselves, but that's well over 25 years, I think. Yeah, more than that, 30 years. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Jason is a influencer on real estate topics, and he's a very popular realtor based here in Northern California. Jason has been able to take his business to the next level, and what I'm excited to share today with Jason is how he got to where he is, to his real estate professional career as an influencer, and what things he can look back on to think about what he would have done differently, knowing what he knows now. Because our whole theme about Know Before You Owe is making great decisions with other people's insights and experiences to help us do better in life. So Jason, can you share your story about how you got into real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on, Jim. It's great to see you as always, man. I've been a real estate agent in Sacramento for, coming on actually a little bit over 10 years now. And I worked as a CPA for about 6 years before that. And I was in between jobs, kind of figuring out what do I want to do. I worked as a CPA, as an auditor at KPMG, like a Big Four accounting firm, and some other companies as well. And I was in between jobs, and what I didn't want was to be in a job where I'm working like 24/7 and not getting paid for the work. So previous managers would call their kids and say goodnight to them every night when we had our busy season, and I didn't want that. I want to have some more family life. I had a buddy who was a real estate agent, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll see what that's all about. Went to some open houses with him, and I thought, this is really actually pretty fun. And I thought this would be a really good way to help people. When I was a CPA doing audit for KPMG, after our audit was done, no one ever called me or told me, hey, Jason, that was an amazing audit. Thank you so much. You changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so the benefit of that, I didn't have like much self-fulfillment. Nothing against accountants if you're a CPA or accountant, but I didn't have much fulfillment. And so I thought, okay, well, this would be a great way to potentially earn more money, but also really helping people, whereas I didn't really feel like it was really helping people so much when I was an auditor for KPMG. And so I I studied for the license, which took me about a month, and became a realtor, and I've been an agent now for about 10 years now in Sacramento.
Cool. And you mentioned that you have that background in I would call it financial services, or an understanding of how numbers work, right? Like you mentioned, It wasn't super exciting to save people dollars on a piece of paper. You didn't feel like you were valued. And I love the fact that you talk about how you have a passion for helping people. I'd imagine that passion for information and insights and sharing has led you to where you are today. With what I'm really proud of you about is your whole influence on social media. You are ranked in the top 3 real estate professionals throughout the entire country on YouTube for your insights, your weekly information, and recaps to market updates and It's fantastic. You've taken your subscription that started how long ago?
I started my channel back in October 2019, so about 3.5 years or so.
In about 3.5 years, you're able to grow your channel up to how many subscribers and followers now?
We just hit 90,000 last week, so 90,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Wow, that's huge, man. I'm so proud of you. 90,000 subscribers, which means someone is clicking on that little bell, hitting subscribe, following you, making comments, making suggestions, sharing your content, reaching out to you. Out of that, I'd imagine you've helped tens of 20s or 30s of people with that whole video, right? Have you got a lot of referrals out of that? Have you been able to help a lot of agents with insights and markets? Tell me about that.
Definitely, yeah. So I think in my experience, I also worked as a financial analyst for Franklin Templeton Investments, and so having my background in as a CPA, being more analytical, has definitely helped with sharing what's going on with the housing market. And so my channel's kind of progressed from what's it like to live in the greater Sacramento area to more of like, national level, what's going on with the housing market with rates and prices, and talk about different cities and states as well. But what has happened is that a lot of people who have found me through YouTube have reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in buying a home in the greater Sacramento area. I'm moving from the Bay Area or moving from Texas, wherever it is, and they want to buy a home. And so they find me through my older videos at times, or maybe they find me through my new videos as well. And in my personal opinion, the best way to build a rapport or build a relationship with someone is through, if not in person, is through video. And so when people watch my videos, they really get a sense of who I am. And I just act like myself on YouTube. And so when they call me or reach out, text, email me, whatever, they feel like they already know me already. Obviously, I don't know them, but they've already built this trust with me already because they've seen my videos. And so it's been really remarkable seeing that happen over the years. And so there's literally been like hundreds of people who have reached out who have been interested in potentially moving here, learning more about the greater Sacramento area. And we've helped, coming up on nearly 30 people buy and sell houses here in the greater Sacramento area who only found me through YouTube. So without YouTube, I wouldn't have had that. And that's like close to $20 million in transactions. And then on top of that too, the really cool thing with YouTube as well is that if you have a product or service to sell, I think it's a great way to get in front of people. There's no way I could reach tens of thousands of people through a video if I was just gonna like do like a meeting here in Sacramento or something. And so a lot of people find me through YouTube and then they reach out and end up buying houses. But you also can have different streams of income as well. So I have affiliates. Sometimes I have video promotions, real estate sales, of course, and there's another platform as well that I post my videos onto. So it's kind of creating this like multiple streams of income for myself and my family, which has been just fabulous. And it's been amazing for personal reasons, also for my business as well.
Awesome. So to recap for the audience you went from being in a local marketplace, you took a high focused area where you live geographically, and then you started to expand that out with more generic knowledge. But I also have seen you kind of target different markets also, right? So you've gone, and I think I watched a video that had probably 400 comments on it about Austin, Texas, or other parts of the state, or other parts of the country. So it's been really cool to see you organically reach out to that audience, and then imagine that you probably have people that follow you that are looking to move from one area to go to another area too. So they may count on you to get a relocation specialist or a referral for someone else that's a great agent in a market like, I don't know, Tennessee, for example. So are you seeing that too happen where you're able to kind of expand your business without having to knock on doors or put up signs or hand out business cards? Is that kind of the virtual way?
No, it's totally true. Yeah, it's totally true. The agents and people reach out to me fairly frequently, say, hey, I know you don't service wherever, San Jose or the Bay Area or, Texas, wherever it is, but do you have an agent you would recommend? And I can make those referrals as well. And the really cool thing about YouTube as well, I know it's not a YouTube like advertisement here, but this has really been worked for me a lot, is that I haven't done any cold calling, zero advertising. If you look at my P&L past couple of years, advertising has been zero every year. And so I don't spend any money on ads or anything. And so the your gross margins that you can, as a business perspective, the expenses you pay in order for the income you earn from YouTube is just phenomenal from a business perspective. And so, yeah, the expenses each month are very, very minimal compared to the amount of revenue that comes in. So it's been absolutely, great that in that regard.
That's awesome. So again, for our audience, Jason is in a service-related industry that allows him to provide value and allows him to use that value to attract clients and an audience and not have to pay for ads on a billboard or through an online real estate company advertisement. It allows you to be authentic, be genuine, provide value, provide opinions. And what I love about your videos is it does provide a lot of data, and it does also give the consumer or the audience the ability to make their own decision about what's the right outcome for them. In my industry, I'm obviously in mortgage financing. It's always important to educate the consumer, to let them be part of that decision, to let them be empowered to make the choice for their family, because if it's made for them, it might not be the right decision. So it's always great to give tools and resources to allow someone to get to that decision of what's important to them. Because in real estate, like Jason, I might like a house that has a large backyard and a small house, or I may want a big mansion and have no yard and no maintenance. And people have different priorities, and you and I have different priorities. So it's hard to generalize that if we're not able to do that in a way that allows someone to feel good about the fact that we've given them those tools. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you make, especially regarding being an advisor for people. So when I'm making these videos, I'm really kind of focusing on what does my viewer want to see, what kind of trends are they looking at, and I think the kind of like the bad stigma associated with real estate, especially as an agent, is that if you ask them when's a good time to buy a home, and the knee jerk reaction is the best time to buy a home is right now, right?
Yeah,
Or the best time to buy a home or sell a home is right now.
Yeah.
And so rather than being like a pushy and more like a salesman, I kind of take just like you do with your business too, just being more of like an advisor. Hey, here's what's going on with the market. And this is an unbiased view of what's happening right now. I'm also going to provide some additional analysis and regarding the market that you're probably not going to see in the more common avenues in real estate. And therefore, people can have like the information in hand in order to make that more informed decision about whether they should be buying or selling a home, which is a lot different than me saying, hey, the market's great, it's never been better, now's the best time to buy. If I'd said that every single week, I'd probably lose integrity over time. And so my thoughts about that is just provide the data, what's really happening right now, unbiased opinion. And I actually never even say in my videos, hey, reach out to me if you're interested in buying or selling a home in Sacramento, but people still reach out to me.
That's awesome. That's actually one of the themes of why I started this Know Before You Owe. I just want to give people information that can help them make better decisions in life, both from a business perspective and personally, because I get to learn as I have guests on my podcast and get to take great nuggets back from my own life and perspective. So that's a great example of what I'm doing here. I'm just doing it with an audience that are other leaders in their specific field. So that's great. So speaking of that, speaking of perspective, I always like to ask guests, if you were to go back in time, maybe 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and if you could have given yourself some advice or some insight to something, if it's life or business, do you have any of those things that you wish you could have given yourself a kind of a playbook on, or some type of Cliff Notes version of, to help you get to where you are or become more successful in those things that you value?
That's a really good question. And Jim knows this. I was all over the place in my late 20s and early 30s, just trying to figure out what I want to do. And back in high school and college, I was just amazed how people are like, oh, I'm going to be an attorney. And then I'm going to go to this Ivy League school. I'm going to get my attorney. I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do. I barely know who I am, right? And so I've had just about any job in the finance field, except for being a loan officer. I was a financial planner. I worked as a personal banker. I was a financial analyst. I became a CPA. Now I'm an accountant, and I got my degree in biology. So I lost a puppy for a while there. But going back past 20 years, it's hard to say. I mean, I think I definitely value the the path I chose to go, ultimately end up at. That's being a real estate agent and now being on YouTube. And so, um, or for 20 years ago, it's hard to say like what I would do differently. I think I was just kind of trying to figure out really what I want to do and try to find something I was really passionate about rather than just showing up to work and getting paid and getting back home and really not having much fulfillment in that. And so I really enjoy being self-employed, been self-employed for over 10 years now and, creating our own schedule, which is 24/7. um, but I would say honestly, the past 20 years, the biggest regret I have is not starting my YouTube channel earlier. I mean, it started in October 2019. I never posted a video of myself online except for maybe a short, like 10-second story on Instagram a couple of times. I'm definitely more of an introverted person. And so it took me a while to summon the courage to actually make a video and actually post it. I think it was about a year, actually. I took a YouTube course in January 2019 and didn't post my first video until October. And so
I remember
in
seeing that
hindsight,
video. I think that was a Sacramento like levee video or something. You were like walking on a path somewhere. If I recall.
yeah, a lot of my videos of my old ones, I was like doing neighborhood tours, talking about the pros and cons about living in Sacramento and all that. I enjoyed that because I would be outside, but the downside too, you're fighting with like, planes going overhead and there was always a leaf blower, wherever you are, there's always a leaf blower, like a block away. And so now being in a home office, it's quiet all the time. So it makes it a lot easier that part, but I do miss being outside and stuff. But yeah, like the biggest regret it has not is, taking so long in order to start a channel. I posted like, I think I'm coming up on like 750 videos on YouTube now. And I just wish I started sooner. It had been, the growth would have been so much more than I currently have right now. But that's my only biggest regret, which is not a big one, but it's a path I chose. And it took me a while to summon to the courage to actually post a video because I was just scared of what it was going to look like. If you look at my first videos, it's like, wow, like I talked like a robot. I was like, and thank you so much for coming onto my channel and click the subscribe button right now. It's like really, really bad. I keep all those videos up just to show that everyone has to start somewhere. And
No, it's great. I mean, that's good to have humility and have humbleness, and yeah, you gotta put yourself out there, right? You gotta get yourself out there, and you learn by making mistakes or repetition, right? You gotta keep trying new things. You gotta get on base. And I would also, knowing you for so long, I would also say one of the cool things that you've been able to do is take your business anywhere. You mentioned that you did a lot of things and you traveled. Most people on this episode don't know that you were a triathlete. You lived in was it New Zealand or Australia?
Both.
Okay, yeah. So you got to live as a triathlete in the triathlete town and train for, what was it, 5 months, 4 months?
I trained in Australia in 2001 for 4 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you were a triathlete. You're a big-time swimmer, water polo player, all-city water polo player. Remember those days back in high school? And it's funny, speaking about high school, if they would have had a category of most likely not to be on social media, you may have been in that category.
Definitely me. Like I said, I'm an introverted guy, but that's the beauty of like having a YouTube channel. You're literally just talking to your camera. There's no one else here. So, and then some of the videos get like, hundreds of thousands of views. If I was in a stadium talking about real estate with more than 500 people, I'd be just so scared.
Let's try to make that happen in the next year. Let's try to get that done in 2024. I think we can do that. We'll get a couple, Gary, you and Gary V and some other people together.
Yeah, right.
So, but I love the fact that you can take your business anywhere. It's mobile. You can also focus in on a market that you're interested in, right? So you're getting to learn at the same time you're educating other people about a certain segment of the market, right? Like if you wanted to focus on multifamily, you could do a whole 50 videos on that, or moving from California to Nevada, the benefits from a taxation perspective also, because you have that background, right? Your background, while it's general, it's actually specific to the important tools and foundational elements of making large life decisions. So that's a really unique approach to real estate. Most people don't have those answers, or they answer incorrectly, or they talk about things they're not licensed or experienced to talk about.
Yeah. I found there's a lot of people who would make videos or come up with conclusions about
You've owned homes. Interesting. You've owned homes, you've remodeled properties, you've helped people buy and sell, you've helped people in hard situations. You've had all these lessons personally that you can share with your audience, right? You can give them honest feedback of your own experiences. That's unique for realtors and loan officers. Whenever I'm talking to someone, a client, I ask them, has that realtor you're getting advice from ever owned a home? That other loan officer you say you're getting better rates from, do they have a mortgage payment? Do they understand what they're talking about? And I would say 89 to 90% of the time, the answer is no. And I said, well, if you want some experience, guys like yourself or myself or people that have experience, both good and bad, right? It doesn't always work out. Sometimes you make decisions that you thought out well, and they just don't work out because of market timing or something comes up that was unexpected. And that's part of what we have to do, right? Like every day, you have to be there for people, and your job is a lot equally emotional as it is number oriented, right? Isn't it kind of both, right? People second guess decisions they're making. They have buyer's remorse. A seller gets emotional about leaving a property that they've raised their kids in. It's an interesting dynamic, right? You're involved with both of those large emotional and financial decisions all in a 30-day period of time normally, which is kind of crazy.
No, definitely. And it can even expand more than 30 days too, right? Because even the past couple of years has been such a competitive market. It's definitely changed now, but you'd have a client to send you a house they really like. You go look at it like, oh my gosh, this is our dream home. I really want to get this. Place an aggressive offer, do everything you can in order to get them the house, and then the seller accepts their offer because there was 10 offers received and someone else wrote a better offer. And then you can do that. And so it can be like this roller coaster where you find a new home, like, oh, I really love this home. I really want to get this one this time. And then write an offer, don't get accepted. And so I always tell people it can be like a roller coaster of emotions, like all these highs and lows, but ultimately kind of just focusing on the end. And that's like me giving the keys to their new home, the home that they absolutely love. But it can be a little bit of a bumpy road. And I think that now with the market definitely is softened, it's definitely slowed down a little bit. You don't have like that competitiveness and those crazy offers in general that we've seen in the past couple of years right now. And so could create some opportunities for buyers and sellers right now.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So as we know, we're in March of 2023. Interest rates pretty much doubled in the last 12 months, which means the buying power for people have gone down by about 26%. So if you were able to afford a house that was $1 million a year ago, you can buy a house now that's about $740,000, unless you bring in more money or have an improved and higher payment, those kind of things. What are your perspectives right now of the markets you're in? Are you thinking that it's when you talk to clients about the mindset they need to have, is it a long-term mindset? Like, are you having them look 10 years down the road at the horizon ahead to make sure they're not thinking of it as just like a 401k investment? What are your feedback thoughts there?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And so I think the advice I've always given clients for the past 10 years is that if you're going to be buying real estate, obviously a long-term commitment, it should be, because in the short term, it's anyone's guess what's really going to happen. And so when people call me, like literally I've had like multiple calls over the past couple of years, especially saying, Jason, I want to buy a home. And I say, oh, great. Are you looking to, own it for a while, or do you plan to move after a certain period of time? And they say, oh, well, I want to buy a home, but I actually probably need to sell it in a year or two. And so if you want to take a conservative route, then I say that, I probably advise you just to continue to rent, because in the short term, who knows what's going to happen with the market, right? And we've definitely seen that for the past, 9 months or so in the U.S. And so I would say that if someone's looking to potentially buy a home, my advice to them is, which always been the case really, is that have long-term time horizons in which you do not plan to sell the home for at least 7 to 10 plus years. That way you can ride out the ebbs and flows in the short term, but in the long term, real estate is typically always up, 10 years plus-ish. And so that, but also making sure you have an emergency fund, even after you already paid for all your closing costs associated with buying a home. And that could be 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved up in a savings account that you're not going to touch. Save it for a rainy day in case a rainy day comes. but also having a stable job as well, which I think is going to be more and more important as potentially you move into a potential recession as the Fed continues to raise rates. So stable job, emergency fund, and long-term time horizons, in my opinion, are about the most important things to look at. If you plan to buy a home right now, obviously you need to be cognizant of the fact that, just like you had said, your rates have nearly doubled over the past 12 months, which is causing this lack of housing affordability, as your housing payment's much more expensive than it was like 12 months ago. And also your buying power or your purchasing power is a lot less than it was 12 months ago as well. And one thing I'll add to regarding that is that, except for the past week, actually today rates dropped a lot, I know. But in general, we've been seeing this really and you would know more about this, Jimbo, than I would, but a lot of volatility in rates. So they have these big ups and downs. They dropped to, they increased to around 7.4%. If you look at the mortgage daily.
Yeah, roughly that. Roughly about 7.25 to 7.38, and APR on that, which is the annual percentage rate, is about a 0.25% higher. So yeah, 7.38, 7.5 roughly is about where we are. Yep.
Yeah, then they dropped down to 5.99, around 6% in early February, and then they shot back up again to around 7% in 1 month. And the impact of buyers, I always tell people that, for every 1% increase in interest rates, it causes approximately a 10% decrease in buyers' purchasing power. So for that 1% or 1 percentage point increase in rates, for someone looking to buy a $400,000 home 1 month ago, now they only qualify for around $375,000, something like that. And so, I'd say that if you're looking to buy a home, rely on experts like Jim Black for advice about what's going to happen with the market, and also kind of really get an idea about if you qualified for a loan at 6% 1 month ago, you may want to reach out to Jim or your loan officer to talk about what's that look like for you now based on the new interest rate, how much you qualify for, what would be your housing payment as well, because there's been a lot of volatility in rates, especially the past year, really.
Absolutely. And I agree with you there that long-term planning is very important. I always like to talk about life events and lifestyles. Mm-hmm. If you're focused, where I live on the coast, as you know, about 1.5 blocks from the ocean, and walk to the beach. That's a lifestyle choice that I made to live near the beach. That lifestyle choice outweighs, to me, an interest rate of 3% or 6%. It's the value and the quality of life. And that is a big factor that I think people need to think about when they make any large decisions in life, is how will my quality of life be affected either positively or negatively. Sometimes people buy a house way outside their comfort zone and be stressed about their payments every month, or they'll live in a 1-bedroom house with 6 kids, and on the other extreme of that. And no matter what the decision is, it's really thinking about the long term around what does life look like down the road, and not counting on your house to appreciate 12% a year, or not counting on rates to go back down to 2%. Do you love where you live? Do you see yourself there for the long run? And if you do, mission accomplished, right? That means you've done something well for you. And to a lot of people, that's priceless. So a lot of people don't care that their rate goes higher by $500 a month, or, something can change. It's like, do I enjoy where I live, right? We're here in California, you and I, and it's not cheap to live here, right? It's expensive, but I still think the cost outweighs, the cost does not outweigh the benefit of living here and all the enjoyment we can get from having the mountains so close to the beach, the wine country, all great schools, all those things play a role. So that's definitely.
Yeah, buying a home is definitely a personal decision for sure.
Yeah, and you and I got to be raised in a very great part of Sacramento. Went to Arden Park, right? Arden Junior High, and went to Rio Americano High School, which was one of the better public schools in the area. And it's exciting to see how the direction you've gone, and you have a great family. You have 2 kids, which is awesome, and lovely wife, and I have the same. So I got to put that out there to make sure I don't get in trouble. But
she follows the podcast. You better watch out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when your wife and the in-laws follow your podcast, you have to endorse them.
Always have to plug them.
Yeah.
Our wives are amazing people.
Subscribe to ilovemyinlaws.com. Anyways, but yeah, I'd like to leave with something funny about you and I that only a few people know, and I don't think this will offend your wife. But back in
Jim, I can't hear you.
exactly.
Oh no.
We'll make sure this is very clearly teleprompted into the script. Back in high school, sometimes there are certain people at the high school that you don't want to ask to homecoming, just by nature of who their parents are. Like I'm not going to ask a sheriff's daughter to homecoming. I'm not going to ask some guy who's an ultimate fighter or boxer's daughter to homecoming. Can you tell the audience who you decided to ask and to homecoming? Because it made it very, very enjoyable for all of us. Do you remember who that was?
Oh man, you didn't tell me you're gonna talk about this, Jim. Like, well, Jim, I'm so glad you brought this up, and I wish I thought about a great story to tell about you. So, I thought it'd be a great idea to ask out if this is in high school for homecoming, the principal's daughter, who I didn't even know at all, to homecoming. And so picking her up and driving and picking her up and having the principal of your high school open up the door. Oh, man. Really nice girl. But, oh, man.
We did okay, though. I think we did all right. I think the principal was a very good guy, and he liked both of us, thank God. And our dates were awesome. My date was a dear friend of mine still to this day. But, it was one of those things that, sometimes, you want to know before you owe. And luckily that didn't cause too much problem, because that could have been a bigger issue for us. We could have probably not moved on out of college. We probably have been still in high school working as janitors if that didn't go well. But anyways, I appreciate your friendship, my friend. I'm so excited for what you're doing. I look forward to your journey ahead, and I'm always rooting for you. And I think I'm probably one of the first people that watches your videos. So keep up the great work, and I will look forward to seeing you more on YouTube. And I'm developing my own YouTube stuff too, so hopefully we can be doing some stuff together in the near term. But thank you for your time today, and to the audience that watched our podcast, thank you for watching another edition of Know Before You Owe. Feel free to subscribe and like our channel and forward it and share it. In our podcast, which is on Apple, Spotify, and Anchor FM, and our website, knowbeforeyou.biz, you'll be able to follow Jason and get links to his YouTube channel, where you can learn a lot of great information about real estate, real time, and more of his bio and his information if you want to get a hold of him. So thank you again, Jason, for being on our podcast episode, and hope to see you real soon, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching and listening.